What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the Clippers and Cavaliers trade that happened while I was on stream, while I was on twitch.com/MythTamer2, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So the Cavaliers get James Harden, obviously a veteran piece, and the Clippers get Darius Garland in a second rounder. So obviously, as you can see, Garland has had his share of injuries this year, which, it has affected them, but it hasn't really affected his play long term, I think, obviously, because it's only a toe injury. When he has been available, obviously he says Garland has shot 36% on threes, down from 40%. That doesn't matter. He'll get back to his average on three ball, whether he was above average for himself last year or below average. He'll get back to his average. He's only 26 years old. A toe injury is not going to stop him from doing that. Now, the downside to Darius Garland, obviously they traded for James Harden. And because they traded for James Harden, that tells you Darius Garland still has a pretty good amount of value because they could have got packages for James Harden. There's no doubt about it. But obviously he did have a pretty bad per 100 here, as you can see, and his defense is probably bottom 5 realistically. He's like a 6'1" guard who lacks those skills of defense just naturally, like Davion Mitchell for example. But like most 6-foot guards that are in the league, he makes up for it, more than makes up for it in his offensive skill set. So as we can see, Darius Garland no doubt has his flaws, but again, his offensive skill set and passing ability is very high up there, and he's got a lot of potential. As he's only 26 and he doesn't get hurt that often, so he's going to give you a lot of good seasons to come. James Harden on the flip side, he's getting older, but Cleveland has to push. They have this roster right now that's not going to get better, quite frankly, to cast around James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, so they got to kind of make a bit of a push, and James Harden is a guy that can do that. He's proved that he can win a ton of regular season games. The only thing we're questioning about this trade with James Harden is the Cleveland's trying to push forward in the postseason. They've showed they can win in the regular season already. They've been the first seed. But James Harden hasn't necessarily been the guy that's going to push you forward in the postseason. James Harden is notoriously a loser in the postseason. There's a couple times he should have won, though, but he's obviously not performed as well as he has in the regular season and the postseason. So if you're trying to push yourself forward in the postseason, James Harden isn't really the best guy to do it, especially because he's very similar to Donovan Mitchell. They're both undersized combo guards. That being said, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are a very good combination with James Harden. He loves to throw the lobs. He loves to drive and then pass it. They're very good at finishing near the rim, and that's what James Harden likes in his big. So I think they mesh well. I just worry about the mesh between James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. As we can see, James Harden is, aging at 36. So how many seasons does he really have left in him? How much can he do in exchange for Darius Garland? Obviously, Darius Garland didn't have the most value because they had to give up a second-round pick on top of Harden, which tells us Harden has more value than Darius Garland, and Harden doesn't have many good seasons left in him. Let's be real here. Harden and Mitchell both like to have the ball in their hands. They do say that, but they do go on to mention in this article that James Harden, down the stretch of the regular season, will take off the load of Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell always has the ball in his hand. But if you have James Harden with Donovan Mitchell, now you got two players that can have the ball in their hands. Neither has had the ball in their hands constantly, and this lessens the likelihood of injury. It takes off the load of each player, and it makes it easier on both of them down the stretch of the regular season coming into the playoffs. So I didn't actually know Darius Garland was making that much. As you can see, it's $44.9 million. That's a ton of money, and they already paid him past his rookie contract, obviously through 2027. 28, and James Harden's probably also making a butt ton too, and I'm gonna go ahead and assume James Harden's probably making somewhere around $44.9 million, and that's why this deal was able to happen, because you get two contracts that are able to swap for each other. But that's definitely the Clippers gambling on Garland's contract. Their willingness to take on Garland's contract means they believe in him to fulfill that potential and be worth that $44.9 million through 2028. And also, what we do know is James Harden is in pursuit of a new contract that they didn't want to pay him, being that they suck right now. They're not going to make the playoffs. He's an older guy. They had to trade him to a contender. If they were going to trade him, he had to go to a contender where he can get re-signed. And that's the same thing the Pelicans did with Jordan Poole and CJ McCollum. We didn't want to pay an older CJ McCollum because we weren't competing, and we go and take a gamble on a young guy who could fulfill his potential, and we now have to pay Jordan Poole or trade him, which now the Cavaliers, similar situation. You either got to pay Darius Garland after he's done, or you trade him in that 2028 season. I will say I do have a bit of a fear that James Harden will feel nothing more than just the Darius Garland role. Obviously, he's better than Darius Garland even in the same role, but when Donovan Mitchell and all of them are on the floor again, I have a feeling that James Harden's going to feel a very similar facilitator role, and it's kind of comparable whether who is the better facilitator. I think it's James Harden right now, but when Darius Garland's at his best, he can definitely be the better facilitator. Now, is Darius Garland the same scorer? Absolutely not. Because James Harden, even though he may not average as many points as he used to, he can still score the ball when he needs to and put the ball in the basket. And again, now Donovan Mitchell, even when he's off the floor, there's someone to take the reins and take the load off Donovan Mitchell, and he can carry the offense while Donovan Mitchell's off the floor. Now, it's going to be a very similar scheme to Brandon Ingram and Zion when we had both of those. You're only going to see one on the floor at one time or both. It's never going to be, they're never going to play the same minutes. They're going to try to make their minutes opposite because obviously one of them's got to be in the game to carry the load. I just want to touch on the Vucevic-Simons trade that happened. It's basically very similar. I mean, you get Simons in a second rounder, a young guy who's probably getting paid that they're going to take the gamble on and pay him to see if he fulfills his potential. And in turn, they get a veteran who, at the center position, can definitely help them. Because right now they're playing Neemias Queta at the center position, and Vucevic can definitely help them in the front court without Kristaps Porzingis that they gave up, obviously. Now, I'm going to say the reason they gave up on Porzingis is because they didn't think they'd be competing this season. And now they are. And that's why they're going to end up giving up Simons, because they thought Simons, they can build him this year while they're not competing. Well, news for them. They are competing, and now they need a center because they go up Porzingis, and they get Nikola Vucevic at the trade deadline. I mean, he's pretty solid. He's veteran. He's proven. He's worth the money. You know he's going to be worth the money, but he doesn't have as long left as, say, Anthony Simons. I'm also going to touch on this trade. This is a very interesting trade because Jaren Jackson, is he really worth 3 first rounders? A first rounder, they just selected Walter Clayton. And Taylor Hendricks, who has shown to be a decent defensive asset, and he's got some potential. They also get a veteran, Kyle Anderson, back. He used to play for them. They don't really acquire that much more behind that. So do you think Jaren Jackson really is enough to close that gap? Now, obviously, Walker Kessler is out for the season. They have Yusuf Nurkic, who had 3 triple-doubles last week, but he's hurt a lot. So now Jaren Jackson's going to come in and play the 4 or the 5, whichever they want to say. Lauri Markkanen's going to be the 4 or the 5 as well, but without Walker Kessler and Yusuf Nurkic is going to come off the bench now, those two are going to be starting in the front court. Now, from the Jazz perspective, trading 3 first-rounders and all that, I'm going to say the obvious that I don't like it. I mean, they haven't been good. They need draft picks to get better, and they trade their draft pick this year. And they get Jaren Jackson, who is more of a competing now player on a team that's not competing. And they're building around guys that don't really think are that good either, like Keontae George. Now, Keontae George could be something. He's definitely got some potential, but he's not necessarily a guy I would build around. This is the only trade you're going to see me really have a strong opinion about who won or lost off the rip. Obviously, teams don't really win or lose because these GMs aren't that dumb, right? They're making a trade for a reason, but the other 2 trades are pretty simple. I mean, they're not complex. It's a younger player, and one team's taking a gamble, one team is competing. It's a pretty simple thing. The Pelicans did it last offseason with Jordan Poole, like I said. So that's my breakdown of all the trades so far. I'm sure there will be more to come, and hopefully the Pelicans get their eyes in there and get in the mix a little bit because we have no picks and we need to compete. So maybe we get Ja Morant. That's what I thought. Zion's played with Ja Morant. So maybe we get Ja Morant. Maybe we don't. We'll see. Ja Morant might go somewhere. Giannis might go somewhere. And I'll be covering all the trades that happen from now to February 6th because the trade deadline is February 5th. I'll be covering all of those on February 6th. I'll be covering everything, like I said, all the trades coming up, all the MLB season coming up. So like and subscribe for more sports content, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.